What's good, y'all? It's your boy Sean P. the Bluff guy. Hey! And we are back with another One Piece reaction video. And today we will be reacting to Arthur, the Library of Ohara. And the title of today's video is This Crazy One Piece Clone Theory Makes More Sense Than You Think. Chapter 1072. What this is connected with. Now, before we get into the video, make sure you guys hit that like button. Also, subscribe, hit that bell for notifications. Also, comment down below your thoughts on the theory, right? What did I get right? What did I get wrong? What did I miss? Let me know down in the comments. Also, make sure you follow me on Twitch. Follow me on Twitch so you could catch me live and you can engage with me in real time. If you want to get at me directly, make sure you follow me on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook, and join the Discord, because the Discord is usually where I'm the most active at. If you want to send me content like the video we are reacting to today, I have a submission channel for you guys to submit the videos. If it's your videos, you can submit it regardless. If it's a video of somebody you like, submit it, right? If you want to be part of a future discussion stream, make sure you are a member of the Discord. Also, the link will be in the description box, as well as all my other socials. So you make sure y'all go show Arthur, the Library of Ohara, some love. Anyway, let's get into it. So the title of this video again is This Crazy One Piece Clone Theory Makes More Sense Than You Think, chapter 1072. So, looks like Arthur is going to be telling us a little bit about clones, right? Like, the recent chapter as of today is chapter 1072. And from that chapter, we pretty much get the reveal of Stussy being a clone, right? Stussy is indeed the first successful clone of the Mads Science Group, right? So it opens the question, right? It opens the question, are there more clones out in the world? Some that we didn't meet, some potential ones that we have met, right? So, and there I've heard names being thrown around. Names like Weevil. We know a lot about we I don't want to say we know a lot about Weevil, because we don't know a lot about Weevil, but we know about Weevil's relation, like him, his mother, Bakken, she claims Weevil is the son of Whitebeard, right? But there's a lot of mystery behind Weevil's existence, right? We don't know too much about Weevil. Is Weevil really Whitebeard's son? Because I think Whitebeard even state that he never had any actual kids biologically. I think it might have been stated. I could be wrong. Let me know if I'm wrong down in the comments. But Whitebeard calls his crew his sons, right? But this whole time, quote unquote, he has a son, right? So we don't know, right? We don't know. But if Weevil is indeed a clone of Whitebeard, that actually makes sense now. You know what I'm saying? It actually clears up that mystery of Weevil, like the true origin of Weevil. Like, if he's really truly Whitebeard's son. If he's a clone of Whitebeard, that makes sense, right? Especially what we know of his mother, Bakken, right? Miss Buckingham, who, what we learned, is the original, right? Like, Stussy is a clone from Buckingham, right? So if she's a clone, it would make sense that her son, or if Stussy's a clone of Bakken, it would make sense that maybe Bakken's son, Weevil, is really a clone of Whitebeard. I've heard other names being thrown around in this whole clone theory. One of them being Tashigi, being a clone of Kuina. One of them being Jory Bonnie being a clone of Big Mom. Uh, I'm trying to think because I feel as though I'm missing somebody. I've even stated, even though this one I think is a stretch. This one is a stretch right here, but this is one that I've kind of put out. I put out there. Zoro being a clone of Ryuma, or even Ushimura Shimosuke. Why did I say that? Right? Like when we was in Wano, we didn't get any explanation of Zoro's connection with Ryuma or Ushimura Shimosuke. Now, just because we didn't get it in Wano doesn't mean we can't get it later, right? That's true. That is true. But maybe he's not. Maybe he's not a descendant. Maybe that's why Oda never gave us anything, because he's not a descendant. Maybe he's a clone. Now I don't know if I really necessarily actually believe that theory. I just kind of wanted to state that because again, I've been complaining a lot, especially when it comes to the Wano arc, that we never got anything about Zoro, his connection with Ryuma, his connection with the Shimoskis, right? We know that Zoro wanted to go to Ryuma's grave, but we never see that. You know, is that because he didn't go? I'm inclined to believe he did go to Ryuma's grave. It's just something happened at Ryuma's grave, possibly, that Oda wants to save. And maybe we'll see it later, right? Maybe we learn something of Zoro that you know, like maybe later we learn something of Zoro that we would have learned it if we would have got that flashback, but Oda didn't want to give it to us at that point, right? So, or not flashback, but if we would have got the moment at Ryuma's grave with Zoro, you know, Oda wanted to save that because it's something important, right? Like maybe that's the case. But I just wanted to throw the clone theory when it comes to Zoro out there because I believe it. I believe with this revelation of Stussy and Miss Buckin, right? I believe now a lot of possibilities are on the table with a lot of characters, and I think Zoro could potentially be one of them. If Kuina is one of them, right? How did Vegapunk turn Kuina into, or Tashigi? How did Vegapunk create Tashigi? How did he get like Kuina's DNA? If he did manage to get Kuina's DNA, maybe he managed to get Zoro. Well, never mind. That would kind of be, that would be a flip. Never mind, because then we would be talking about Zoro's clone instead of Ryuma's, or Zoro being Ryuma's clone. So I'll take that back. That theory, that speculation I was just going was kind of hit a wall. But let's not waste any more time. Let's get into Archer's theory because, you know I'm just going on. I'm projecting my own theory. Maybe his theory is completely in a whole different direction than where I'm going. So let's get into it.
Of her as an irrelevant minor character, but what if I told you she's actually far more important to the story than anyone ever thought? Being an undercover triple agent working for the Revolutionary Army, a former member of the Rocks Pirates, and the user of the mythological devil fruit Bad Fruit, model Succubus. And beyond that, what if I told you that there are other clones of former Rocks Pirates, including Jewelry Bonnie potentially being the
I also want to throw another name out there because he did just remind me. Blackbeard. Blackbeard potentially being a clone of Xebec. That is indeed another name, right? That is indeed another name that I've heard out in the ether.
Clone of Big Mom that Kuma adopted. Welcome to Chapter Secrets, where we break down all the details in every one.
I've never considered that. I know I keep stopping, but I've never considered that Kuma actually adopted Jory Bonnie, and that's not like his biological, right? Or well, I mean, I guess that's kind of what if I was going with that theory, it would have had to be the case anyway. But even if she's a clone, she could have some of Kuma's DNA potentially. I don't know. I don't know, but it it makes sense. It makes sense that Kuma would have adopted her if she's a clone of Big Mom.
One Piece chapter. Let's begin. Now, we find ourselves in a really peculiar situation in Egghead, as on one side we have a traitor amongst our midst of those found at the lava face who disabled the shield of the Frontier Dome, but on the other hand, there also seems to be a traitor among the enemies, as Vegapunk claims to have another ally on the island. Now, for the traitor on our side, given how it can be either the Straw Hats or Bonnie, it would have to be one of the Vegapunks, and while there's several possible options, the simplest answer could actually be Caribou. Caribou is desperately trying to escape ever since Zoro dumped him off the island, so it makes sense he would have tried to disable the Frontier Dome to try and desperately escape. It's possible that rather than disable it manually through the control center, he might have tried to just jam the machine with his fruit or something, causing the systems to briefly go down. However, on the opposite end is what interests.
I never considered Caribou possibly working against the Straw Hats. I don't know. I don't know. I don't see that benefit in him working against the Straw Hats. You know, I kind of picture Caribou trying to convince the Straw Hats to allow him to tag along a little further. At least until they get off Egghead, you know.
Us a lot more, being the ally on the other side. So basically, in order to escape Egghead, Vegapunk Pythagoras mentioned how technically they now have an ally on Egghead who could assist with their getaway. Edison, however, brought this into question, claiming that their ally would lose their cover with the government and cause them to be persecuted by them, but Stella simply gave up and called the ally to ask for help. But who is this ally? Well, as absurd as it sounded at first, I think it's actually Stussy, and the newest chapter seems to support this claim. Now, I've been saying this online ever since.
Yeah, that is true. You know, the mystery ally, it kind of makes sense to be Stussy at this point. I'm still kind of holding off that it's not, that it's like, you know, I y'all know my theory. Y'all know my theory, you know, but it makes sense to be Stussy though. It makes sense to be Stussy. It's just, I don't know how Stussy would have had that full-on conversation with Vegapunk without nobody noticing. But maybe she could have, and you know, maybe they thought she was talking to somebody else. Like, oh yeah, okay, I'll accept your order or whatever. Because she didn't really, whoever the mystery ally was, they didn't say much, right? They just said, oh, I've been waiting on this order. And then, like, that's what somebody pointed out to me. And if that's the case, if that's all she said over the Den Mushi, maybe Lucci she didn't say enough to really gain any suspicion from Lucci and Kaku. So, yes, it could be Stussy. You know, I'm still inclined to believe it was somebody who was already on the island. That person being Scopper, right? So, I'm going to just put that out there.
Chapter 1071 was out, but once you start thinking about it, Stussy makes a lot of sense to be this mysterious ally. For starters, there's really not that many other characters who are on this island who could serve as allies, as not counting the Straw Hats, Bonnie, and the Punks, we only have Sentomaru, who is kinda busy taking a nap on the ground, Caribou, and CP0. And considering that Lucci and Kaku are most certainly not the ally, that makes Stussy the perfect candidate. There's also an important detail that easily gets lost in translation, being that in Japanese, the ally speaks in a very polite language, something that wouldn't fit many other characters who speak more crassly, sorry Skopper-Gaban and Soul fans, but would perfectly align with someone more refined like Stussy. Beyond that though, it's Stussy's deep connection with Vegapunk that makes this allegiance all the more evident. You see, it's become evident that Stussy has some familiarity with Vegapunk, as she mentioned how Egghead was nostalgic to her, meaning she was there long ago, and she seemed to be familiar with a lot of the island's technology and systems, showing a great deal of technical scientific knowledge. This connection runs deeper in the fact that she was very well acquainted with Dufeld, the founder of Mads back in the day, as revealed in the cover story. The two of them seemed fairly acquainted with each other, but specifically when Stussy commented on how Pudding reminds her of a younger self, Dufeld commented that being decades ago. This not only indicates that Stussy is a lot older than she appears to be, with even her Vivercard databook entry listing her age simply as
Yeah. That's one thing, cause we seen the cover story with the Mad Science Group, right? And I question if that was Stussy, if that was actually Stussy, or if that was actually Bakken, right? If that was Miss Buckingham, right? And maybe it was Stussy, right? Like, and I know clones, right? Like from what we seen clones, maybe they're kids, but maybe when she was created, maybe she was an adult. Like maybe she came into like her adulthood, or she matured a lot faster. You know, like maybe she matured pretty fast, right? Like by the time she was 2, she could have looked like she was in her 20s. You know what I'm saying? And maybe she always looked like her 20s because she doesn't age, but she like when she was created, she might have like aged to looking like she was in her 20s, and then she just stays like that. Even though, yeah, she's getting older, but look wise, she doesn't age. Like physically, she doesn't age. So I'm inclined to think on that cover page that was indeed Stussy. I'm inclined to believe that, but I don't know. I don't know.
Secret, but also that Dufeld knew her decades ago. Considering that the Mads were active during a time from around 25 to 35-ish years ago, it would make sense if they knew each other from back then, particularly since the latest cover story showed the original 5 members of Mads, including a woman with short blonde hair and stockings just like Stussy. And if she was Vegapunk's ally today, then it makes sense Oda is keeping her identity covered in this cover page to not give away too many clues. And furthermore, her suspicion makes a lot of sense because if you remove the T from Stussy's name, her name becomes Sussy. Okay, maybe not that last one. But yeah, if Stussy was a member
I mean, you know, you ain't really saying nothing new here. You preaching to the choir because we've been calling her Sussy, Stussy over here.
of Mads that later, when observing to the government, decided to become a CP0 agent, it would just make so much sense if she actually maintained her allegiance to Vegapunk and infiltrated as a Cypher Police agent. In fact, it's possible that given how Vegapunk is secretly working for Dragon and the Revolutionary Army, that similarly Stussy is also acting as a sleeper agent for the Revolutionary Army. This would be a very fitting plot twist because Stussy was introduced as an underworld emperor, being known as the Queen of the Pleasure District, but was revealed to actually be a double agent working as a CP0 member, something I also predicted back in the day actually, so it'd be very fitting if all along she was actually a triple agent working for the Revolutionaries, bringing her story all around. This would explain why she
I do remember a few people speculating and predicting that Sussy was a CP0 agent. I think I've seen a few theories. I don't remember who exactly though.
kept allowing Kaku to fall into the traps, as well as why she also pressured Lucci to wait on orders from the Marines before going after Vegapunk. This might even explain why she was the one who tipped Morgans about Luffy being the mastermind of the Whole Cake Island incident, since he is Dragon's son after all. She's been undercover for a long time, feeding info from within the government's most secret services to Vegapunk and Dragon, which is why Edison suggested to not blow her cover that easily, but now she's switching sides back again when Stella requested her help to escape. And through the newest chapter, we can also get an idea of what Stussy's connection to Mads is, being in reality a clone of Miss Buckingham Stussy. Miss Buckingham Stussy, now more commonly known as Miss Buckin, is the mother of former Shichibukai Edward Weevil and self-proclaimed lover of Whitebeard, claiming Weevil to be their child. It's of course brought into question.
Yeah, I kind of have a theory about this, right? Since we kind of talking about clones, I think Stussy, you know, like she really loved Whitebeard, right? Like it seemed like you kind of look at her shirt, right? She got like a Whitebeard inspired like Jolly Roger skull on her shirt or dress, except it has like pigtails, you know, kind of like a woman. So she's kind of like the female Whitebeard, right? So it makes me think that like she was infatuated with Whitebeard, but maybe Whitebeard just didn't reciprocate the feelings, right? So after a while, maybe after Rocks disbanded, maybe she went to Vegapunk and cut a deal with Vegapunk, was like, hey, you could create a clone out of me, just create a clone of Whitebeard for me, right? So I could call him me and Whitebeard's son. So I think it's more of like she has an obsession with Whitebeard, that like Whitebeard doesn't reciprocate her feelings, therefore she end up just creating a child that she claims to be her and Whitebeard's child, you know. But maybe to a degree she also hates Whitebeard as well, you know, because she's mad that he doesn't reciprocate her feelings.
on if the two actually had Weevil together, given how she seems to be taking advantage of her kid. But I wouldn't be surprised if Weevil could actually be the legitimate son of Whitebeard, just not Bakin's own child. But beyond that, she's also a former member of the Rocks, as Marco confirmed in chapter 909 that around 40 years ago, Miss Bakin was on the same crew as Whitebeard, which would have been the Rocks back then, which indicates that at least in her prime, she was likely very powerful to be on that crew. This would explain why she was able to defeat and awaken Kaku so easily, which, by the way, would be a really cute detail since in the chapter when Stussy first debuted, she had a drink from a screaming giraffe. This isn't all, however, as to top all of this off, Stussy can be seen with bat-like wings, which makes me believe that she actually has eaten a mythological type Zoan, the Bato-Bato-no-Mi or Bad Fruit model Succubus. I don't think that she's eaten a vampire fruit, since that's already been eaten by a non-canon character, being Patrick Radfield from One Piece Unlimited World Red, and Oda usually likes to name canon and non-canon fruits that have the same ability with different names for the sake of continuity, even if they're non-canon. Oda likes to make it
right. I forget that one filler character, that the one he showed. Let me rewind it just to show who I mean. He pretty much essentially has the same devil fruit as
continuity, even if
this guy right here, like he pretty much heats up, right? Like he heats up. That's his fruit, but that's the same ability Oven has. That ability to heat up, right? The what's it called? What's Oven's fruit called? The heat. I don't remember. Y'all remind me in the comments.
If they're non-canon, Oda likes to make a distinction. So in this case, even beyond all that, I think that Succubus is also just a much more fitting fruit for Stussy. The Succubus is a demon of folklore who is usually depicted in its modern form as a seductive woman with bat-like wings that seduces men to devour their blood. This blood allows the Succubus to always remain with a young appearance, which allows her to keep seducing men even after many years. This may actually be the secret behind Stussy's own incredible youthful.
And that would make a lot of sense too, right? Because I mean, but vampires also kind of remain young as well, right? Like vampires remain young, they look young. So I wouldn't completely disqualify the idea of a vampire, right? Because vampires have a lot of succubus type characteristics. Like they can control people, like they can get you to fall in love with them, right? Like, you know, with their powers, like their powers do that. Same with succubus, right? So, but if like she's staying youthful by drinking the blood of like the victims that come to the pleasure district, right? Because she's the queen of the pleasure district, which I mean, I know we can all kind of assume what the pleasure district is, right? So I don't think that's something I need to explain, right? So when these men come to her, you know, her district, right? And she deals with them, they deal with her, right? She victimizes them, you know?
Age. After all, Dufeld already suggested she's lived for several decades, which she must have if she is a member of Mads. But if she is a clone of Bakin, then she would have to be around 76 years old, like she is right now. But the reason she manages to look this young is because of her succubus fruit, which being a mythological fruit.
Wait, did he say she would have to be 76 if she's a clone of Bakin? No, I don't think that's the case. Let me make sure I got what he said right.
Is because of her succubus fruit, which right now. But the years old have to be around 76. Must have if she is a member of Mads. But if she is a clone of Bakin, then she would have to be around 76 years old, like she is right now. But the reason she manages to look.
Hold on. No, she wouldn't be the. It sounds like he's saying like Stussy would have to be the same age as Bakin, which is completely wrong. And maybe I'm taking what he said wrong, right? Maybe I'm misunderstanding what he said, but Bakin, right? If Bakin is 76 years old, which I'm assuming that's what he's saying, then Stussy would be younger than that. Unless they literally cloned Bakin when she was born, like the day Bucking was born, Vegapunk cloned Bucking as well and created Stussy that same day, then yes, they would be the same age. But Bucking lived a good amount of years before getting cloned and Stussy being created. So Stussy would be at least, I would say, at least 20 years younger than Bucking. At least, I mean, at least like somewhere between 15 to 20 years, possibly even more than that. You know what I'm saying? So just saying, Stussy wouldn't be 76. She'd be younger than that, I would think.
This young is because of her succubus fruit, which being a mythological fruit, it would have special properties, in this case, granting Stussy perennial youth, though not immortality as she likely can still die, just not of old age, as well as allowing her to suck blood out of her enemies, causing them to faint. This would also likely explain the name Buckingham, as it's likely reference to Buckingham Palace, the seat of British royalty, with Stussy potentially even referencing Queen Elizabeth II, and how she was famously known to have lived a very long time, having had one of the longest rules of a queen in history, and often joked of being perennially youthful or downright immortal. However, if that's the case, then it would suggest that Miss Bucking does not have the fruit, and that it wasn't inherited with the clone and its bloodline elements, as otherwise Miss Bucking would also look fairly young now, unless the young age is caused by something else instead, meaning that the Stussy clone was likely fed the fruit after she was born. Much like Stussy, we've seen in several instances now the living being
or Stussy, and look, I'm not disputing the idea that she has a devil fruit. That's not what I'm trying to do. But I don't think her having a devil fruit is the only scenario. I think Stussy could have also been genetically modified with like, maybe she's genetically modified and that's why she has these bat-like abilities. You know what I'm saying? Like maybe she was literally created to be similar to a devil fruit. You know what I mean? So I just want to throw that out there. Maybe she is the way she is because she's genetically modified as such and wasn't given a devil fruit.
Beings can be cloned, what with the Kuma clones, the Germa army, the Seraphim, or someone like Stussy being the first in this long line. The fact that she's referred to as the #1 clone that Mads created makes me wonder if more existed out there among all the characters we know, particularly other clones of the Rocks Pirates. A likely chance could be Edward Weevil, who maybe is a partially failed clone of Whitebeard rather than his kid, who maybe Miss Bucking managed to get in exchange for providing her own clone to Mads. But on the other hand, there's a certain character who comes to mind, someone who is an egghead right now and very, very relevant to the current plot. Jewelry Bonnie. You see, if you've been in the fandom long enough, you may recall that the fandom has had a big obsession with the theory that Bonnie is actually Big Mom's daughter for a very long time. This is because the two look quite alike, have the same hair color, and even similar traits such as their obsession with food. However, this theory has lost a lot of popularity once it was revealed that Big Mom has like a gajillion children, which wouldn't really make Bonnie being a Yonkos kid quite that important anymore. But what if we had it wrong this whole time and Bonnie wasn't the kid of Big Mom, but her clone? After all, the two behave in very similar ways, both wanting to eat all the time and both being easily prone to getting angry and being overly emotional.
I mean, that is a good case, like it's not really one of them theories it's not one of them theories I've really ever thought about. But like, I remember after the chapter dropped and people was talking, I just seen somebody say something about Bonnie. Like they just kind of made I didn't see a theory, but somebody just kind of said like, oh, well, Jory Bonnie is Big Mom's kids. They got the same lips. They got the same color hair, and even now Arthur is even giving more mirroring, right? He's giving more mirroring that I didn't even consider, like their temper, their love for eating food. I mean, when you really think about it, they do have a lot of similarities in some cases. It's like Bonnie is able to, like, her ability grants her the ability to look younger, right? Big Mom, when she like hungry, Big Mom actually looks younger as well. Like, even though that's not like an ability, it's just her lack of eating but still, it's like she does have different phases where sometimes she looks younger, sometimes she looks older, you know. And I was gonna say their abilities work similar, but I wouldn't say that, I'm not gonna say that. It's like Bonnie kind of can extract your age, like with those shapes that we seen her do with Vegapunk, and then Big Mom can actually extract a portion of your life with these little black balls, So that's the only similarities in their ability, though. Everything else I can't really say is similar.
Two also practically look identical. We don't have a
and when you look at this, right, we got Big Mom, like, she was close to her mother. Jory Bonnie was close to her father, Kuma. Adopted father potential, adopted mother, Big Mom, Mother Caramel. And another thing, when we think about it, a lot of people were speculating Elbaf to be Big Mom's arc, right? Jory Bonnie could potentially be with the Straw Hats while they're in Elbaf. So we could potentially get Big Mom and Jory Bonnie at Elbaf, or having some level of story in Elbaf. If Big Mom does come back into play into the story in Elbaf, right? So barring that happens,
A 21-year-old Big Mom to use for reference, but she hardly looks much different from a 28-year-old Big Mom. Unfortunately, the only caveat in this theory is that Bonnie actually has purple eyes, and since Big Mom has orange-brown eyes, then the two can't possibly be clones of each other. Or does she? Because actually this was an anime-only change, and in the original manga designs by Oda, Bonnie actually has the exact same eye color as Lin Lin, making her look practically biologically identical to Big Mom. You might bring into question how older Bonnie looked fairly different from Big Mom, but as this chapter clarified, Bonnie
right there, she kind of looked like Mother Caramel a little bit.
His power allows someone to age into different potential futures of their older selves, which is why Luffy ages his future where things went wrong, for example, or Bonnie ages herself into a future where she is really buff. Plus, her fruit might also explain why she always looks so slim despite always eating so much, which would make her slimmer than Big Mom looked. And you have to keep in mind that although Bonnie looks around the age of 22, Oda clarified in the SBS that's only the appearance she is usually seen in, and that her real age might be very different.
Yeah, man, that's scary right there. That's scary, like the fact that we can never really it's like we would never, unless Oda flat out say like, yes, Jory Bonnie is this age, we would never know Jory Bonnie's real age, because she could be any age, honestly, that she wants. If she wants to be 18, she could be 18. If she wants to be 45, she'll be 45. So it's hard to pinpoint her real age, because the age that we see her at, right, like the 20-something looking, like the 20-something year old female, right, looking female, she could really be in her 30s. She could really be in her 40s. She could really be like in her teens, if we're being serious. Like maybe she makes herself look a little older just to, just so people, I don't know, just to kind of blend in a little bit better with normal adults. So yeah, that's a little scary with her ability, that we would never know her real age unless Oda confirms it.
Different. So much like Stussy, she is likely older than that, and may have been similarly been born as a clone of Big Mom shortly after the God Valley incident during the period of Mads, which would explain why Akainu considered Bonnie such a threat, which wouldn't make quite as much sense if she's just Kuma's daughter. The girl that Vegapunk speaks of at the start of the chapter could potentially maybe not even just be referring to Stussy, but maybe Bonnie as well. After her birth as a clone, Kuma may have grown attached to her and decided to take her in and raise her as his own daughter, which is why she considers herself as such. This would explain the discrepancy that Kuma is said to be from a special race, but Bonnie instead seems to be a full-blooded human, which by the way likely has to do with the fact that this chapter confirmed Kuma does actually have real bear-like ears. And that could also explain...
Yeah, that is weird, man. That is weird, because when you look on the panel to the left, you don't see those bear ears. Like, you don't really see them. I don't see him. You see normal ears. Like he got the normal ears. and then on the right he got the bear ears. So I think I was in a discussion and somebody made the statement that those ears could have came from the devil fruit. So now I'm actually inclined to believe maybe he did get those ears after eating the devil fruit. Because if you look on the panel to the left, no ears, normal ears. Panel to the right, bear ears. And you don't really see normal ears, but it's like blocked out by a bubble. So, it could be there. Maybe like normal human ears are there. So it leads me to believe, because I think I said that maybe those bear ears are part of, because we was told that Kuma comes from a special group of people, like a special race of people, right? So I thought maybe those ears were part of his lineage, right? But he didn't always have those ears, at least based on these two panels. It says, though given how he didn't have the prior to eating his fruit, they may be caused by his devil fruit, just like his paws actually have bear-like ears.
Have real bear-like ears. And that could also explain why Vegapunk promised to Kuma that he would never divulge the secrets of his past to Bonnie. As we find out in this chapter, Vegapunk brought up how a certain doctor in the West Blue believed that people's souls are lost after death, which, given his age, location, and research into the dead, this certain doctor may very well be Dr. Hogback. But yeah, as many suspected, Kuma's consciousness, what some would call the soul, has been preserved thanks to the use of his powers, meaning that despite Kuma being just an empty dead robot right now, he could potentially come back if those memories are re-implanted into him. And as we see in this chapter too, Vegapunk tried to stop.
Facts. I never actually thought about that. Kuma getting some level of himself back if he regain his memories. I like that, because that's a great way to pretty much revive Kuma. Like, no, I don't think he would ever become or get like a full human again. I think he's pretty much screwed in that aspect. He's a cyborg at this point. You know what I mean? He might even be fully mechanical, so we might have to just call him an android. But I'm gonna call him a cyborg because he was originally organic, and I think there will always be some level of organicness in Kuma, right? But if he regain his memories, if he touches that bubble, maybe he could regain a level of his sentience back.
Stop Bonnie from accessing her father's memories at all costs, because he promised Kuma that he would not let her know the truth of Kuma's past. And it would make a lot of sense if that truth is that Bonnie was a lab experiment, a clone of Big Mom, because Kuma wanted to spare Bonnie from the truth of having an existential crisis of just being a clone of someone else. Still, this is just a potential theory, as at the same time there's some aspects that still need more clarification, but there's also the
I do like that idea, though. I do like that idea. Like, Kuma's trying to hide that, like, Bonnie's secret, right, from her, so she don't find out.
Chance that Kuma also hides some dark truths behind his past, and that there may have been very real reasons as to why he was called the Tyrant back in his youth that Bonnie may struggle to accept, seeing as how she claimed that there is no way her father could have committed any crimes. This would also explain why Kuma did not want to show his memories to even Vegapunk, who wouldn't really be surprised if Bonnie really is a clone. But furthermore, this makes me wonder if it really is just the same process behind how Kaida's fruit was also cloned, especially as Vegapunk describes Stuss's birth as being born upon this world, similarly wording to how all things that are dreamed of are born upon this world, which refer to devil fruits, as after all Zoan fruits are said to possess a will of their own, meaning that by all means they are actually living creatures. This might be why they are able to be cloned that easily, whereas Paramecia require copying and replicating the mechanics of each fruit's respective bloodline elements effect through the green blood, and Logia are straight up too hard to clone. But since Zoan fruits are actually alive, then that's the reason why they too can be cloned a lot more easily. Not only do they carry the wills of living animals within them, but some, like the Hito Hitonomi model Nika, even carry the will of a god within. But I'm sure we'll find out more secrets about the truth of Dao fruits soon enough.
Hey, shout out to Arthur, Library of O'Hara. I'm gonna give him a like. So all right, yeah, I'm kind of with it right there. I'm kind of with it. I like I'm kind of with the idea that Jory Bonnie could be a Big Mom clone. You know, it makes sense. It does make sense with she has a lot of physical features with Big Mom, right? Like the lips, the pink hair, the some of her personality traits, like her getting angry easily, um, her love eating, her love eating and stuff. Like it would make sense that these are genetic, right? These are genetic traits, especially the behavioral traits, right? Like acting like Big Mom. And her looking like Big Mom is just the icing on the cake, like looking like a younger Big Mom is icing on the cake. So that makes sense. And the possibility of some of the other clones like Weevil. I mean, bro, like we in a different time right now. We in a different time, so it all makes sense. But yeah, like I I like it. I like it. And Kuma, right? When we talk about Kuma, him adopting Jory Bonnie does make sense. Like it makes sense. Like maybe he met Jory Bonnie when she was young, maybe after she was created in the lab, and he bonded with her as she grew, and he was like, you know what? I'll take her in. And Vegapunk, and that also explains Vegapunk's closeness with Jory Bonnie. Like Vegapunk seems oddly protective of Jory Bonnie, right? And you could say that, Jory Bonnie visited the island sometime to check on Kuma and all that. Yes, that's true. But he seems like super, like he has a very deep relationship with her, and she's like very important to Vegapunk, you know. And if Vegapunk actually created Jory Bonnie, that would make a lot of sense right there. If Vegapunk actually created her, so I think it's possible. And some of the other possibilities that I heard, I mean, I've heard some good possibilities. I heard some possibilities I don't per se agree much with. Like, I don't know if I think Kuina is or Tashigi is a clone of Kuina. That is a theory that I heard. That's not one I'm personally a big believer in, because we never really like Kuina and Vegapunk crossing paths. You know what I'm saying? How? When did that happen, and how? And why would Vegapunk be like, you know what? I'm gonna clone this girl. You know what I mean? Like, what incentivized Vegapunk to actually clone Kuina and create Tashigi? So I don't know. I don't believe that one. The Weevil one, I think, sounds legit as well. The Weevil one. The one I said about Zoro, I just kind of threw that one out there. I don't think Zoro is a clone. You know what I mean? But yeah, the possibilities are endless. But you guys, y'all let me know, who do y'all think are clones? Let me know in the comments down below. Let me know in the comments some speculations of who could be a clone to you guys. But yeah, anyway, y'all, that is pretty much the video today. Make sure you guys hit that like button. Also, subscribe, hit that bell for notifications. Comment down below your thoughts on the video. What did I get right? What did I get wrong? Also, follow me on Twitch so you can catch me live and you can engage with me in real time. If you want to contact me directly, follow me on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook, and join the Discord. I'm usually the most active in the Discord, so it's going to be the best place to actually engage with me on a personal level. If you want to send me content like the video we reacted to today, then Make sure you are a member of the Discord. I have a channel there specifically for you guys to send me content. And if you want to be part of a future discussion stream, make sure you are a member of the Discord. All of these will be in the description box down below, as well as the link to the video we just watched. So y'all make sure y'all go give Arthur some love. Anyway, though, it's your boy Sean P, the Bluff God, and I'm out of here. Peace.